The meeting now. Good evening, everybody. I welcome you all for today's virtual meeting on Khajuraho, a celebration of beauty. Friends, I've been going to temples from very young age and seeing all the temples and the beauty of the temples. Especially my trip in the earlier days was confined only to the temples of South India, basically Tamil Nadu. And I was fascinated by the great beauty of the Tanjavur temple and Gangaikonda Cholapuram and so many other temples. I was under the impression that never in life anybody can build a temple surpassing the beauty of the great temple of Tanjavur and so on. Until I've read a lot about it and I wanted to see in person. So may I request everybody to mute yourself? I would request everybody to mute yourself, please. So in the year 2016, the month of October, the members of our Rotary Metropolis, we ventured into the tour to explore Madhya Pradesh. The first destination that we landed up was at Khajuraho. The moment we landed up at the heritage site and saw these beautiful structures, was fascinated. I didn't have words to explain the beauty of this great place. I didn't want to come out of Khajuraho. The 3 days that we spent there was not sufficient. I felt that I should keep seeing and exploring this temple again and again. That was the fascination of Khajuraho. And that's what we are going to see in this presentation today about Khajuraho, which is a celebration of beauty. I would request everybody to kindly mute yourself, please. Repeatedly requesting you to mute yourself. Please mute everybody. When you say about Khajuraho, it is said there's a wrong mindset in the people, which says these temples are meant only for erotic sculptures. Khajuraho is synonymous with the word of erotic sculptures, and this is unfortunately been branded so by the foreign media and the so-called Western scholars by publishing these erotic sculptures in abundance and spinning their own theory, claiming that our country was a land of free sex and immoral life thousands of years ago, which is absolutely untrue and a not fair deal at all. Khajuraho temples were built for worship with profound philosophy of our Vedic tradition, religion, and the cult that was in practice in those days. We shall explore these temples of Khajuraho in this context of why and how they were built in this presentation. Khajuraho is located in the Chhatarpur district of Madhya Pradesh. It is considered as one of the most extraordinary archaeological sites of India. Just like our Brihadishwara temple, which is one of the most important archaeological sites, the temples of Khajuraho are also one of the most important or extraordinary beautiful archaeological sites in our country. Khajuraho's ornate temples are among the most beautiful medieval monuments in India. Khajuraho was recognized as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in the year 1986 for its outstanding universal value and human creativity genius. So this is the beauty of the great Khajuraho, being recognized as a World Heritage Site. The first impression that the visitor gets of Khajuraho is overwhelming. Huge mountain-like temples, which are standing freely in the open space. Every square inch of the temple is covered with sculptures, and these sculptures are of exquisite beauty and amazing replicas. It is something phenomenal in these temples. On coming closer to the temples, you are greeted by the whistling birds, the parrots, and that gives you a feeling of entering into a medieval world that was once inhabited by the gods, goddesses, the celestials, the apsaras, the surasundaris, the mythical animals like Yali and all, Vayalas, Makaras, warriors of that age, dancers of that age, musicians, all carved on the walls of this beautiful temples of Khajuraho. Each temple is a monumental three-dimensional sculpture by itself. When you see a temple, you see a sculpture, but when you see the temple as a whole itself, it represents a beautiful sculpture. So that is the greatness of this Khajuraho temples. For many, Khajuraho shrines are synonymous with the erotic sculptures. However, these erotic sculptures that you see in these temples of Khajuraho is less than 1/10 of the sculptures that you see in the temple. Which is much, much less. That is 1/10 of the sculptures only are erotic. The rest, 90% of this temple is covered with beautiful sculptures of extraordinary value and lot of inner meaning which has been imbibed in these sculptures. Sometimes Khajuraho is also associated with the religion where free love was in practice. Some people associate these temples of Khajuraho with the extreme Saivite sect of Tantric sect called the Kapalikas. The Kapalikas is one of the Saivite sects, which is a Tantric sect, and they were all engaged in the extreme sexual activities. So this is also associated with them. Khajuraho, unfortunately, is not any of the above. Khajuraho was not a playground or a playground for architectural exploration like what we see in Mahabalipuram. Mahabalipuram temples were created as a playground to explore the different types of architecture. But here in Khajuraho, every temple was a place of worship and religious discourses. There were many sects that received and patronaged here in Khajuraho. These temples were constructed for the purpose of worship, and we see the evidence of Brahminical, Jains, and Buddhism. All the three major religions that were a part of India have been represented in these temples of Khajuraho. There is no written evidence about the township of Khajuraho prior to 900 CE. The temple construction in Khajuraho began around 900 CE onwards, when the local chieftains of the area of this where the Khajuraho is located was ruled by Chandelas, a family that amassed power and wealth and rose to be one of the major dynasties that were ruling northern part of India in 9th century. The Chandelas were once the local feudatories under the imperial Pratihara monarch of the Kanuj. Kanuj is again a very important place right from the period of Guptas, and that was ruled by the Pratihara monarchs. And these Chandelas were just started their thing as a feudatories of this great monarch of Kanuj. A local legend traces the descent of the Chandelas directly to the moon god, Chandra. So that's why they get the name Chandela. According to the legend, a young Brahmin lady by name Hemavati was taking bath in one of the ponds in Khajuraho. Chandra, the moon, saw her beautiful figure and fell in love with her beauty. This was on a Paurnami day in the moonlight. And out of that love and the relationship that Chandra developed with this Hemavati, a beautiful boy was born. And that boy became the first king of Khajuraho. He was the one who built the 85 temples in Khajuraho region. And all these temples carried the erotic sculptures as a symbol of love with which he was born. So that is the legendary story going around how these Khajuraho temples had come up. There's also another legend stating that the Chandelas were the descent of the mystic sage Chandratreya. And Nanuka of 831 to 845 CE was the first chief of the Chandelas. Khajuraho temples were built over a period of 250 years, starting from 900 CE to 1150 CE during the rule of the Chandela dynasty over the central part of India, that is today's present day Madhya Pradesh. As per the local traditions, there were 85 temples in Khajuraho, but now only 25 of them are remaining in varied states of preservation. Except for a couple of them, the temples are not used for worship today, though they were originally meant for and built for the purpose of worship. And there is a great pond, it's about a mile in length, very close to Khajuraho village. And there, near the pond, you'll find the dilapidated temples with all those idols, all thrown everywhere. And these were the destructions that was during the Muslim invasion. All these temples were mutilated and these are in ruins. The government of India is taking a lot of pains to reconstruct them and bring back the original 85 temples that was once seen all over the space of Khajuraho. By 16th century, Khajuraho went into oblivion. It is not even mentioned in the Mughal records where they have kept the chronicles very clearly. The whole town was engulfed and into a forest. It became a forest of Khajur. Khajur is dates. The date trees. It was a big forest of date trees and infested with a lot of wild animals. Because it was infested with a lot of date trees, the Khajur trees, this present town gets the name as Khajuraho. In 1813, William Price presented a paper in the Asiatic Society of Bengal on a Sanskrit inscription that he found at Mau, which was a close place to Khajuraho. From that inscription, first time the historians of India were drawn to the attention that Chandelas were a dynasty and that ruled this area of the central India for almost 300 and odd years. And these Chendelas were forgotten totally in the Indian history for a long, long time before this was brought into the notice by William Price. In 1813, a captain of the British Army by name T.S. Burt visited Khajuraho for hunting. When one of his palkiwalas told him about the exquisite temples that are hidden inside this forest of Khajur, he wanted to see them. So he immediately asked this palkiwala to take him up there to that place, and he saw that. And he was the first person to have discovered Khajuraho to this world. And after seeing all those beautiful temples before leaving, he finally taking leave of that place of 7 temples that he saw in the western group of temples. He says, I shall state in my opinion that these are most probably the finest aggregate number of temples congregated in one place to be met within India, and all of them are within a stone throw distance from one another. That is the concentration of the temples that you could see in Khajuraho. Everything in a very, very cluster form. At one particular places, you can see that. In different clusters, you see these temples. The temples of Khajuraho are a grand specimen for the Nagara style of architecture, the North Indian architecture. Indian temple architecture is basically into 3 forms. That is Dravida, that is which predominantly seen in the south of India, Dravida style of architecture. The Nagara style of architecture, which is predominantly seen only in the north and some parts of Karnataka also. And the third one is Vesara, which is a combination of this Nagara and the Dravida style. They evolved a new style, and that was called New Vesara style. So this Nagara style of architecture is at its pinnacle in Khajuraho. Nagara style very clearly states the temple has to have a Mukhamantapa, the entrance porch. Then it's followed by an assembly hall or the Mahamantapa. And that Mahamantapa is also used as a dancing hall where dances were performed for the Lord. Then after the Mahamantapa, it is a small vestibule which is called Antarala, which leads you to the Garbhagraha. And inside the Garbhagraha is the main image of the god, Shiva or Vishnu whatsoever, is being installed there. And around this Garbhagraha, there is a Pradakshina path. And so to say, all these conditions are not mandatory that all the Nagara temples should have all these elements. However, 1 or 2 of them are missing out also. They are classified as the Nagara temples. The identification of these Nagara temples are basically done seeing the wonderful Vimana over the sanctum, which is very unique, with the Amalaka on top and the stupi on top of the Amalaka. This is a very unique, the photograph that you see is the very typical style of Nagara style of architecture, where you see the Vimana over the Garbhagraha, very unique, unlike from what you see in the southern states, which is almost in different levels and things like that. This is a long, what you call a Vimana, which is very tall, high. And on top of that, you have a circular design, which is called as Amalaka. Amalaka is nothing like gooseberry. It's gooseberry, and that design which is on top represents a gooseberry, and over and top of that is the Shikara. And this is the typical style of Nagara architecture. Before we go into we would like to say some facts about the erotic images in Khajuraho. The convention of depicting erotic images in our temples were not invented in Khajuraho. Most of these contemporary temples of 9th century and 10th century spread across the country contain these type of images which are erotic in nature. However, the images that we see in Khajuraho are quite large. They are almost 1 meter by about 2 meters and so on. Compared to the other temples, which do not attract the immediate attention of the visitor. So the Khajuraho temples have have this representation of these erotic images at a prominent and very important places, and they are huge in size. That's why this particular erotic images have become very, very popular in Khajuraho. In other such temples, they are located very, very in minuscule nature. That's in the lower areas of the plinth, and which is almost below the eye level of any visitor. And compared to Khajuraho, they are much fewer in numbers in all the other temples. However, the presence of the erotic figures in this temple as motifs appear in the art of the three main religions that are followed in our country: the Hindu, the Jainism, and the Buddhism. All these three different religions that were in practice in those days have got in their temples these erotic images. These erotic images might have come out in these temples to represent some fertility cults which were involved with sexual practices. And these images were only visual representation or symbolic representation of this particular fertility cult that was there in those days. Another explanation comes from the earlier Vastu literatures. Silpa Shastras and other authoritative texts on temple art talks very much about these auspicious natures of the presence of these erotic sculptures in the temples also. People sometimes try to relate Khajuraho sculptures with that of Kama Sutra, which was written by Vatsayana, who composed this sexual manual in 600 CE. But these sculptures do not have any relationship with the text of Vatsayana. It is said the Khajuraho sculptures were primarily created to illustrate the various postures described in Vatsayana's Kama Sutra sexuals. This is what is written in many of the books, and the tourist guides there also say about this. This is absolutely not true, although many books and other people claim about this. Some of the themes that are represented here and the complex sexual positions depicted in these sculptures are very, very far from reality. And it is totally based on imagination. And these things cannot be applied into practice, which is very, very clear. Another explanation seen in some of the books claimed the association of Khajuraho with the Tantric sect of the Kapalikas. Tantric sects express their philosophy in this erotic art. However, this explanation is not tenable as there is no proof which is available to associate these temples of Khajuraho with the Kapalika sect. These erotic sculptures are depicted with profound philosophy of our religion. Can I request you to mute yourself? Behind the depiction of these sculptures in this temple, there is a very, very profound philosophy of our religion, which is seen behind these sculptures in the temple. The human mind is a very lucid one and is always attracted towards the pleasures of enjoyment and happiness in life. Sex is one such pleasure that human mind is constantly looking for from the adulthood to its death. In the span of lifetime of a human being, the human mind works in many ways, and by means also for enjoying the sexual pleasure. Under this pretext, they consider this is the greatest pleasure that gives happiness to one's life. The pleasure of sex is one that is attained with the involvement of the five sensory organs in act. And this pleasure that is attained in this is a very, very short one and does not long for ever. If one's mind is set on the short-lived pleasure, he thinks that is ultimate in life, and thereby he is fooling himself. If one can control our mind and our senses and focus our realization of the Atman or the God inside, then that pleasure that we can derive is the ultimate bliss in life. And this bliss is eternal and permanent. That is why that's the truth behind these depictions. May I request you to kindly mute, please? Hello. May I request all the participants to kindly mute? It is disturbing. This is the truth behind these depictions. Asking us, by depicting these sculptures, they say, don't be carried away by these pleasures which are short-lived. Realize the God within you or inside the temple here. And that what you attain the pleasure of it is going to be permanent. That is the reason why these sculptures are depicted in these temples and especially in Khajuraho, asking us not to get deceived and be carried away by these short-lived pleasures. So that is the theory of the erotic sculptures there in Khajuraho. And now we go, out of the 85 temples that once existed in Khajuraho, only 25 of them are remaining, and they are grouped into 3 different groups of temples. And that's one is called the Western group, the other one is called the Southern group, and the other one is called the Eastern group. So these 3 group of temples consisting of a cluster of 6, 7, 8, 9, like that, it is there. And that's what we are going to explore in this temples of Khajuraho. Now coming to the Western group of temples, the most fascinating group of temples that you can see in Khajuraho are situated in this Western group, which are included in the World Heritage Site of 1986, UNESCO's declaration as World Heritage Site in 1986. They are now within an enclosure of small enclosure, and that is maintained by the Archaeological Survey of India as of today in a very beautiful manner. What you see here is the west-facing temple situated in front of the Lakshmana temple, which is in the Western group. It houses an image of Brahmani or Brahmi inside, but originally this temple housed the image of Vishnu's Vahana, the Garuda. Vishnu's Vahana, the Garuda, was inside this temple. And this temple is constructed on a very high raised platform and contains a Mukha Mandapa that you see here, Mukha Mandapa, and the Garbhagraha inside, in which the Garuda image was there once upon a time, and there is a Shikara there on top of the Garbhagraha. This is not very high compared to the other temples which you see inside the compound of the Western group. These temples are approached, this particular temple is approached by a few steps, and you can see all our friends seated here during our trip. The next one we come across is the Vamana temple. This is an open temple with a pyramidal roof that enshrines a massive solid yellow sandstone monolithic figure of Varaha, the Vishnu's boar incarnation, measuring almost about 2.66 meters by 1.75 meters. There are more than 675 miniature figures are carved out of the body of this entire Varaha. Look at that beautiful Varaha standing there. the boar incarnation of Vishnu, with all the images carved all over its body. These figures depict the divinities of Hindu pantheon, including Ganesha, the Saptamatrikas, Saptarishis, Ashtadikbalakas, Navagrahas, the river goddesses, the seas, the Rudras, the 11 Rudras, the different forms of Dasavatara of Vishnu, and there are also an image of the earth goddesses, the Bhudevi, who was the consort of Varaha. However, today that image of Bhudevi is missing, and only we can see the foot of the Bhudevi there attached to this particular image of Varaha there. And this image is the earliest image dating back to 950 CE of Khajuraho, a very beautiful image of Varaha. You can see that. How many? 12 rows of miniature carvings depicting all the, we say in Tamil, Muppattu Muppodi Devadargal. So all the Devatas, which are crores of Devatas that is there in our Hindu religion, are all depicted in this one Varaha, a very unique and most beautiful Varaha that you can ever see in this world. Now coming to the next temple, Lakshmana. This is a fascinating temple. One of the beautiful temples that are located in the Western group in Khajuraho. And I would say this is one of the excellent temples pan-India, not only in Khajuraho. And this is a temple which is Sandara temple. That is, Sandara means it has a circumambulatory passage around the Garbhagriha. And you have, this is a Panchayatana temple also. You have 5 temples in this particular complex. And the 4 temples, the main temple is there in the center. The 4 temples are located on the 4 corners of this temple. So this is the Panchayatana worship. We have different types of Panchayatana worship in our Hindu religion, starting as Shiva Panchayatana, Vishnu Panchayatana, Devi Panchayatana, Surya Panchayatana, and Ganapati Panchayatana. So these 5 Panchayatanas are there. You can select your own form of God as the main deity and have all the other 4 gods as subsidiary deity and start your worship. And that's the religion which, that's what it talks in our religion. And this particular temple is a Vishnu Panchayatana temple. When you say it's a Vishnu Panchayatana temple, all the 4 shrines are located around the main shrine. Inside this main shrine is the Vishnu image, and the 4 shrines are located for the gods. Now, what you see here is in this corner, this is for Shiva. And this side, it is for the Devi. And right on the top is for Ganesha, and the other one is for Surya, which is all east facing. The north and south facing 2 temples are dedicated to Shiva and Devi. And since this being a Vishnu Panchayatana temple, Vishnu's image is seen in the sanctum. And this is a very, very important Vishnu Panchayatana temple that you could see in the country, which is still there. What a beautiful image of Vishnu is there. This contains a typical Nagara style. As per the inscriptions that you see in this temple, Yashovarman built this temple to enshrine this beautiful image of Vaikunta. This Vaikunta image, which is almost 1.3 meters high, has 3 faces. The face of a lion, the Vishnu's human face, and that face of the boar. The 3 faces, just like Brahma, you have 3 faces. These 3 faces are there. This is a very, very rare form of Vishnu that you can see anywhere in this country. You can never see it anywhere in this country. This particular form of worshipping Vishnu was from the Pancharatra school of Kashmir. The Kashmir had 2 different schools in that time. One is the Saivite school, which is called the Kashmir Saivism. And similarly, the Pancharatra sect of Vaishnavism was also flourishing from Kashmir, and they worshipped this Vaikunta image. And this particular temple was dedicated for the Pancharatra Kashmir Vaishnavism. And this beautiful image of Vaikunta or Vishnu is seen here. And it's one of the most wonderful images that you can see, and is and the only image that you could see in India today. And all these informations are available from the inscriptions that you have seen in this temple. This is the only temple that preserves the sculpture panel on the platform depicting everyday life. The sculptures around this temple depict everyday life, the royal hunt, the battlefield, the dance, the musicians, the erotic scenes, the traders, everything of that particular era of 9th and 10th century is beautifully depicted all over this temple in the panels that decorate the outer wall. The entrance of this temple is through a gateway or the Torana, which is called the Makara Torana. And in this temple of Khajuraho, with the sanctum door jambs depict all the 10 incarnations of Vishnu. You see the sanctum there, the image of Vishnu there, and on the door jamb, you have the Dasavatara of Vishnu being depicted. On the pradakshina around the sanctum, you find different beautiful images of Vishnu being depicted there. You see Varaha, the Narasimha. Look at the beautiful. Hello, again, I'm repeatedly requesting you to kindly mute yourself. It is disturbing. May I request my friends to kindly mute. On the Pradakshina path, find that images. This is a beautiful image of Vishnu as Narasimha. What a beautiful depiction of Narasimha on the circumambulatory passage. Now you have again a beautiful image of Varaha. What a beautiful depiction of Varaha also in the circumambulatory passage, that is the Pradakshina inside the Garbhagraha. And again, you have a rare depiction of Vishnu as Hayagriva, the horse-faced Vishnu, which is seen here. A beautiful depiction of horse-faced Vishnu as Hayagriva in this circumambulatory passage. Now, outer walls have got beautiful sculptures depicting Ganesha. What a beautiful Ganesha. You have again Indra, the Ashtadik Palakas, represented with the Indra here. Then again, you have Shiva. You have Bhairava, form of Shiva. All these sculptures are seen there wonderfully. And every wall is so packed up with these sculptures. It takes you to a different level and it transports you from this world itself. Enjoying the sculptures, you are transported out of this world. Now, what you see here is the image of Indra and his consort Indirani. He is the king of the Devaloka. So the celestials are always around him. You see the two celestials playing the music for him, and you have the two nymphs on either side. And apart from that, you have the Vishnu and Shiva images also flanking there, thereby bringing Devatas, the supreme Devatas of Vishnu, Shiva, along with the Devatas like Indra and the celestials, everything on a single plane is something unique that you could see only in Khajuraho. The base of this temple is so beautifully built with that of the elephants. You can see rows and rows of elephants like this, and the entire base structure of this temple is built about these beautiful elephants. You have Apsaras, and they are flanked by Yalis, the mythical Yalis. The Yalis that you see here are totally different from what you see from the southern India. These Yalis are exactly the same, but very beautifully depicted and very ornately done, which is in total contrast to what you see in south of India. Look at that Yali. This is a Simha Yali. Look at that Yali in a dancing pose, leaping pose, and the two warriors fighting that. And the walls are entirely different, depicted with miniature sculptures. You can find a war scene here where a person is waging the war sitting on an elephant, and he's attacked by another warrior seen here going on a horse, and the elephants fighting, the warriors are flanking. And above that, you have the Bhutaganas holding this beautiful temple. Look at that. Beautiful representation of Shiva in this Lakshmana temple, flanked by two Apsaras. And this is a wonderful image of Dakshinamurti in this Lakshmana temple, which is dedicated to Vishnu. Dakshinamurti image, what you see in south, is totally different here. Here you see this Dakshinamurti holding the Kamandalu and the Pustaka and the Pasa and the Damarukam. And he's seen here with the beard as an elderly teacher here giving the Jnana Upadesa. The rishis who have come to him, the Sanakadi rishis who have come to him to learn this great knowledge, are depicted in the skeletal form, that they were only interested in knowing the knowledge and not worried about their physical appearance. That's what is being depicted in this wonderful image of Dakshinamurti in Khajuraho. Look at that beautiful Dakshinamurti with the beard. And what an elegant representation of Dakshinamurti that you could see in this temple. Look at that. One small area of that wall. How beautifully it is represented. You see this Indra there, flanked by the Apsaras. One side you have Vishnu holding one chakra and the Gada there. This side you see Shiva. Again, this side you have the beautiful Surasundaris and the Violas. Down below you have an erotic image. The erotic image here is also given equal importance to that of the main image that you find here of Indra. So similarly, that is the reason why this is very prominently seen in Khajuraho. You can see all these beautiful young ladies flanking these things. What a beautiful sculptural representation. The artist who has made all these things, visualized and made this, must have been of wonderful taste. The Sthapatis should have been of wonderful taste to bring out such beauty, the beauty in the women. What a beautiful depiction. And here you find that everything was so musical in this. Everything happened with joy. To depict that all these things are happening musically, you have a row of musicians playing different musical instruments seen in the bracket figures there. What a beautiful representation. Amazing thought process that you can see in these temples. Look at that. Again, one more panel of that. Look at this beautiful sculptural representation. Shiva, by the side you have another erotic figure, and you have also a demigod of the Nagas being represented here. The Apsaras, the Surasundaris, everybody there. Look at that. A young couple are shown there. What a beautiful way of representing a young couple. They are not gods. They are not demigods either. They are just the people, the people. How beautifully they are represented. Look at the way in which they are dressed, the hairstyles, and way in which this is represented. They are represented with love in their eyes. That is what is the celebration of beauty in this Khajuraho. Look at this, the Apsara figures. She's picking up the child from the ground. What a beautiful depiction. Again, here you have this Apsara adjusting her, the ornament on the forehead, her hair flowing down, looking at the mirror. What a beautiful way it's been represented. Again, this Surasundari is holding a flower in her hand and standing by the side. And look at the Vimana. What a beautiful Vimana. You see, the Vimana is so beautiful. The entire temple, The entire Mahamandapa is outside the Vimana, which is carrying balconies to get in free air and light inside these Mahamandapas. And all these sculptures are located in this area. And this entire temple is built over a plinth of nearly about 3 to 4 meters high. And above that, this is raised again to the extent of 3 meters. And then above that, the sculpture starts. And what a beautiful depiction that you could see here. Look at that. Madam, I'm requesting you again and again, kindly mute your... Can you kindly mute? Who's that? Can you kindly mute? I don't know who is it. Can you somebody help me out?
Guru, it's marked Galaxy Tab A. I think they've just muted.
Just muted, did no?
Galaxy Tab A.
Again, somebody else is there.
Mr. Ganapati Subramaniam needs to mute.
Ratan Chand also has to mute.
Ratan Chand. Mr. Ganapati Subramaniam, you're not muting.
Done it. Yeah, I have done. Is that okay?
Please mute.
Galaxy Tab A is not muted.
Look at the walls of these temples. What beautiful decoration. Every inch of these walls of the temples are beautifully decorated. Amazing beauty. You'll find the celestial rishis. You'll find all gods and goddesses, everything, all spread over the entire area of the walls, outer walls of the temple. Now we come to the most important temple of the Khajuraho, that is the Kandariya Mahadeva temple. The Kandariya Mahadeva temple is one of the biggest and the most beautiful, magnificent temple located in Khajuraho. Kandariya Mahadeva means Shiva, the one who resides in the caves of the mountain. This is one of the greatest monuments in the temple and the tallest among the Khajuraho temples. The tower of the temple reaches to a height of 30.5 meters, and it was possibly built by Vidyadhara in about 1030 CE after a successful combat against Muhammad Ghazni. So the Muhammad Ghazni was defeated and he came back victorious, and he got the freedom from the Pratihara rulers also, and he built this beautiful temple in 1030, that is by Vidyadhara. This temple is built on a high jagati, that is a platform, a beautiful platform, which is almost about 4 meters. And this is approached by a flight of steps. And the entrance to this temple is again on a high raised platform. And you enter through a grand Makaratorana, and that leads into the intricately designed mantapa of the sacred temple. The temple comprises of essential elements, all the essential elements of the Nagara style of architecture, with the Mukhamandapa, followed by the Mahamandapa, the Antarala, Garbhagraha, and the Sandara passage, that is the circumambulatory passage around the Garbhagraha, the sanctum, which is seen there. Look at that. That's the beauty of this great temple, Kandariya Mahadev. What a majestic temple. Look at that tower. Look at the Mahamandapa, tower over the Mahamandapa. The balconies that are located on the outer prakara to bring in air and light inside the prakara. Similarly, the balconies are located on the Mahamandapa and the Mukhamandapa also. The tower of the temple has a series of graded 84 replicas of the towers. The same replica of the tower is repeated. 84 such replicas are there, that forms as a structure of the central peak to create an image that this is a mountain peak with all the small peaks around it. Look at that. All these small towers, 84 in numbers, constitute the entire Vimana, which is totally clustering around the central tower or the central part of the Vimana, like that of a mountain range. It starts from below and goes up to that tall Shikara. This is a representation of the Mount Kailash, the abode of Shiva. Directly beneath this is located the Shivalinga, which is worshipped inside the sanctum of the temple. The Indian concept of building these towers is based on the Mahameru concept, which is followed in all the texts of the different styles of architecture in India, be it the Dravidiya, be it the Nagara, or be it the Vesara also. The unique feature of this temple is that all the different parts of the temple has their own small towers. All the smaller towers and the main tower are receding towards the main tower. And that makes somewhat a restless movement with a unified design of or the theme that it has to incorporate of the Meru, which is seen here. Now, as we enter the Mahamantapa, you see this beautiful image. The Mahamantapa, this unique image is there. This is called as the Chatushpada Sadashiva image. It is considered to be the supreme aspect of Shiva, the Sadashiva Murti, which is considered as the greatest in the Saivite religion, but this is totally different. He's got 4 legs. Chatushpada Sadashiva Murti. Sadashiva has the 5 faces, Sadhyojatam, Vamadevam, Tatpurusham, Ishanam, and Aghoram. The 5 faces of Sadashiva are represented here with the 10 arms, and he's got 4 legs. These 4 feet of this image of Sadashiva represent the 4 different aspects of Saivism that they had followed. The builders of this temple of Khajuraho had followed during that, like that of the Lagulisam, Pashupatam, then you have the Vaidikam, then you have the Siddhantam, and something like that. So all these 4 aspects of this Saivism which they followed is represented here in this 4 feet of the Sadashiva. This is one of the rarest of rare images that you can find anywhere in this world. And again, in the circumambulatory passage, you have the beautiful, the cardinal niches on the 3 sides have the images of Shiva here as Triprantaka and Natreswara, and you have also the Andakasura Samhara Murti. Here is the Andakasura Samhara Murti. Shiva is killing the Andakasura with his trident, and that fellow is hanging there in the trident. His blood oozes out, and every drop of blood, another Asura comes up. So the Bhadrakali is summoned to drink all the blood, and she comes here, and that's what is represented here in this beautiful depiction of Andakasura Samhara Murti. This image is rarely seen in the South Indian temples. Looking at the Sura Sundaris, you don't have words to express their beauty. The grace and the poise with which they stand there, the actions are exemplary. What an idea the sculptor should have had it. How you should have visualized it. How much you must have enjoyed the beauty of the ladies, the women in general, and how beautifully he has brought out it. Now we can't, you can't expect something to just come out like that. Unless and otherwise, this Sthapatis had taken everything inside enjoyed every bit of it, this would not have turned out to be such a wonder. All these Surasundaris are of amazing beauty. The external walls of the temple are shown with these Surasundaris, Apsaras, Shiva, Ashtadikpalakas, and all these images are there in all the sites of it. Here you find Shiva image. Here you find the Naga image and the Yalis. Alexander Cunningham, the first director who started the Archaeological Survey of India during the British regime, he counted 646 figures located on the exterior wall of this Kandarya Mahadev temple. And he also counted 226 figures that were there represented inside the Sandara passage of the Garbhagriha inside the Kandarya Mahadev temple. So you can expect somewhere about 900 and odd figures decorating this temple only in that level. Leave alone the Vimana. Just around the temple, on the face of the wall, you have 900 and odd figures, which is unimaginable in any other art form, any part of this world. The exterior walls projection arrangement is very unique, where you have the images of Saptamatrikas who decorate the wall, starting from Ganesha and ending with Chamunda and Veerabhadra. Look at the beautiful Ganesha. What a beautiful depiction of Ganesha there. The speciality of this particular temple, they followed a Bhairava cult based on the Kashmir Saivism. And in this Bhairava cult, they followed this aspect of worshipping Shiva as Adi Bhairava. And he is always surrounded with the 7 divine mothers around him, the Saptamatrikas. The Saptamatrikas and Shiva go together. And that was a very beautiful concept of the Kashmir Saivism, which is followed in the Lagulisa also. And that's what is seen here in this temple. You find here the Maheshwari, one of the mothers, 7 mothers, Maheshwari. You can see the bull here. She's a representation of Shiva's Shakti form, Maheshwari. You have Kaumari, again a beautiful representation of Subramanya Swami's form. Now you say it is Subramanya's form. Subramanya has 6 faces. This Kaumari is also seen with 6 faces, and she's seen with a peacock. Even in our Tamil, in so-called Dravidian architecture also, we do not have such a beautiful Kaumari represented anywhere in these temples. What a beautiful representation of this Kaumari image. Amazing beauty. 6 faces representing that is the feminine form of Subramanya. What a beautiful depiction of Kaumari here. You have Indrani, the aspect of Indras, why Indrani. You have Chamunda. Again, this is a very mutilated image, but the Chamunda is seen very clearly. The the Saptamatrakas are guarding this entire temple, giving a protection to this particular temple and protecting the devotees, and thereby giving a protective mandala for all the devotees who come to worship the Shiva, who is Kandarya Mahadev, as the Adi Bhairava, who is there in this temple of Khajuraho. The outer walls has got the most beautiful Surasundaris. You see one by one. Each one is surpassing beauty. One is beautiful than the other one. You cannot name who's beautiful, who's not. Look at the elegant posture in which she stands there, bringing out the femininity in her in total. Look at that. She's putting a kajal to her eyes. Another lady is scratching her back. What a beautiful representation. Look at her. She's pulling out a thorn from her leg. Here she's adjusting her ornament on the head, looking at the mirror. Look at that. She's plucking flowers. So the other lady is also plucking flowers by her side, but a thorn has pricked her and she's removing the thorn. What a beautiful depiction. Again, another Apsara. Hello.
Natarajan, please mute.
Again, the Swarasundaris and the beautiful Apsaras flanking the beautiful sculptures on the wall. Could you help me muting that?
Natarajan, will you please mute? Natarajan Viswanathan.
Look at the beautiful sculptures arranged in different rows. Entire area of that. What you see here must be approximately about 60 feet. 30, 40 feet by almost about, again, another 20, 30 feet. Every area is filled with sculptures depicting all the gods and the beauty. What a beautiful representation. We can never imagine such a temple. This is the only temple, the temples of Khajuraho are the only place where you can see such beautiful creations. Nowhere in India you can see that. What a beautiful depiction, all built out of sandstone. Of course, sandstone is very easy to do the carving, but the beauty in which they have done is amazing, amazing beauty. And even after 1,000 years, they remain like that. In spite of so much of natural devastation and the man-made devastation, these temples are a beauty by itself. I don't have words to express this great beauty of this temple. Every sculpture speaks volumes and volumes of their greatness. The be it Shiva as Bhairava or whatever form of Shiva, the Swarasundaris, the Apsaras, everything, it dots the entire walls of the temple are amazing beauty to watch. Look at that. Outer walls, you have Varaha. Look at the way the Varaha is holding Bhudevi in his hand. And look at this. This is Brahma. With the three faces is seen there, Brahma. Again here is Vishnu. Look at Shiva. This is again Brahma here. In standing form, again another Brahma. Again, you have Vishnu here. Look at that Vishnu and Lakshmi there. You have Shiva and Parvati. All these images of gods are so beautiful. Look at the entrance archway. This is the Makara Torana. This archway is so beautifully there with all intricate sculptures of devatas hanging in between. Unfortunately, only these two are remaining. Everything else is broken. The Antarala, this is of the temple, circumambulatory passage. The three gods are represented. Look at the moldings of the Adrishtana, the base. Look at the way in which it's molded up. And the exterior wall, where you find totally outside this exterior wall is the figures that we saw outside now. Interior also, you have some beautiful sculptures. And the passage around this Garbhagraha is well lit with the ventilation from the balconies that you have seen there. Look at that. again, the Kandarya Mahadev, who's been installed in the temple once upon a time, who saw a glorious years during the Chandela, now is in a very sad state of affairs. Of course, this has been declared as a monument, and today people walk around with shoes and chappals all over, and the God has not lost its sanctity there. It is just an image or a stone there, which you can see that now. The Jagadambi temple, located to the north of Kandari Mahadev, is another temple which is there on the same platform of the Kandarya Mahadev temple. This is a small temple. This temple was dedicated to Vishnu, as it is reflected in the sculptures that you see on the outer wall and the sanctum door jambs. And the cardinal niches of the temple also have the images of Vishnu alone. And today, they have brought in an image of Devi and kept inside the sanctum. The original Vishnu, which was there in the sanctum, is missing. So the Vishnu image is seen there. Look at the way Vishnu is seated with this concert. What a beautiful way. Lakshmi is seen as though she's kissing Vishnu. What a beautiful depiction. Amazing way in which it's been depicted. The temple is built, this temple of Jagadamba, which we call today, was built around 1000 to 1025 CE. And this temple is famous for the sculptures, graceful sculptures that you see on the exterior wall of this Jagadambi temple. Chitragupta temple, again, this is again another temple in this Western group. This is the only temple dedicated to sun god, built around 1000 to 1025 around the same. And this is Niradhara temple, which does not have a Pradakshina around the Garbhagraha. So this is a different style of architecture in the Nagara. The temple consists of a Mukhamandapa, Mahamandapa, and the Antarala and Garbhagraha as usual, stating that it's a Nagara temple. And inside that, you have the image of Surya inside the sanctum, which is 2.13 meter high. And he's shown wearing the armored dress like that of the Westerners, coat, boots, and his chariot is seen pulled by 7 horses that is seen here. The 7 horses are here. And the images around this temple are also very, very beautiful. The exterior walls contain the 2 brands of sculptures, and the uppermost containing erotic figures, and down below you have other pictures of social life. There are 70 aesthetic figures that are represented here, which we do not have much details about that. And one interesting feature is in this particular temple is this image of Vishnu. This is again a marvelous image of Vishnu never seen anywhere in this world. This Vishnu is interesting Vishnu because he's seen with 11 heads. And this occupies the south wall of the niche of the Surya temple. What a beautiful Vishnu you can see here, 11-headed Vishnu. We have not even heard of it till today. But there is a representation of this in that beautiful temple. Look at that. All the Dasavatara faces are joined to this head. And the central face of Vishnu is retained. Thereby, it gives you the 11-headed Vishnu image. A very, very rare and unique sculpture in the world. The Vishwanatha temple is again one of the 3rd largest temple, apart from the Lakshmana and the Kandarya Mahadeva temple in the Western group, in the Khajuraho group of temples. And this particular temple was built by Dangadeva in 999 CE, and the inscription at the temple talks about Shiva Lingam that was installed in this temple. He said there were 2 Shiva Lingas installed in the temple. One was the regular linga, which was made of stone. Another linga was a linga made of emerald. Beautiful glittering emerald, transparent emerald. This temple was known as Marakateshwara temple. According to the inscription, it is known as Marakateshwara temple. And the lord of this temple was made of emerald. The emerald lingam was missing when these temples were rediscovered by the Britishers. This temple, as per the inscription, was built by an architect, Sutradhara, called Chichucha, who was well versed in the Vishwakarma architectural traditions. So he was the person who built this temple. Today it is called Vishwanatha temple. Originally it was Marakateshwara temple. And right in front of this particular temple, and this is the only temple you have a special pavilion for Nandi. And this temple is again built as Shiva Panchakshara temple, with separate shrines for Surya, Ganesha, Devi, and Vishnu. And you find the Shiva is there at the center. And this is the portion where Surya is there. And here will be Ganapati, that side will be Devi, and here will be Vishnu. This is the Surya, this is the location. This is the way that Shiva Panchayatana temples are built. And this is a beautiful Shiva Panchayatana temple. However, today only two of these Panchayatana temples are, two of the substrains of the temples are available. The next two are out. Please kindly mute, sir. You are irritating me. Somebody is irritating me. I'm not able to give this lecture.
Govind, can you please mute? Govind, please mute. Govind, will you please mute?
The next temple is Matingeshwara temple. It's out of the western group's enclosure, situated south of Lakshmana temple. And this is the only temple which is still under worship in Khajuraho. Jani, if you can mute him, kindly mute it.
I cannot mute, but I can only request. Govind, who is Mr. Govind? Can you please mute?
Just leave it. And this is a beautiful Shivalingam, the largest Shivalingam of 2.53 meters and 1 meter in diameter in India. The external walls of the temple are without any images, and the roof is pyramidical. And from the style of architecture, it is stated to be 10th century art by the historians. Look at the beautiful Shivalinga there inside this. And this is the Chatushashti Yogini temple, which is a walking distance from the Khajuraho temple, and a very unique temple which is dedicated to the 64 forms of Devi, which is a Shakti cult which was practiced in those days. And the Chatushashti Yogini temple, unlike Khajuraho temples, is built of granite structure, and this is in a very, very dilapidated conditions. None of the images are there, and a few retrieved images are seen in the museum there. And this is dated to 9900 CE. The Chaturbhuj temple, which is located 3 kilometers away from Khajuraho, is a west-facing temple, and this is dated to 1100 CE. The temple has a sanctum, Antarala, and the Mukhamandapam. And this is a local temple which does not have, this is the only temple in Khajuraho which does not have any erotic images. The temple has a Vishnu image and is specially built in the sunken sanctum inside. The majestic Vishnu is 2.75 meters high, and it's a very, very unusual Vishnu that you can see here in this temple. Look at that beautiful Vishnu standing with the legs very beautifully positioned, holding the Shankha and Chakra. The 4 hands of Vishnu are seen. That's why he is called as Chaturbhuja. And this temple is named as Chaturbhuja temple. Look at the beauty of that image of Vishnu. What a graceful image of Vishnu. Such a tall, huge image of Vishnu, which is almost about 20 feet in height. What a beautiful image of Vishnu is seen here. And this temple, outer walls have a lot of beautiful images. One such images is the Narasimhi, the lion face goddess. The female representation of Narasimha is seen here. And apart from that, you have Ardhanarishwara. May I request the gentleman to kindly mute?
Govind, can you please mute? Can you please mute Mr. Govind?
Jain temples is again a group of temples located in the modern wall complex and has been maintained by the Jain Trust. There are three main Jain temples. So much of disturbance. Because I'm wearing the headphone, it is too much of a disturbance to me. The Parshvanatha temple located in the Jain temple complex is the largest temple, and this is a Sandara temple with a circumambulatory passage around it. And the temple is built in 950 to 970 by King Dangadeva. This is very unclear why Jain temple should have the images of Krishna, Rama, Balarama, Vishnu, and other things on the exterior walls. The doorway of the Dwarapalakas are shown there. They are typical Jain sculptures representing Indra and Upendra. And many of them, they misunderstand this as Vishnu's Dwarapalakas, Jaya and Vijaya, but they are Jain sculptures. Probably this temple was built for Vishnu and later converted into a Jain temple by adding some small sculptures inside of Jain tradition. So that's why you have the Jain images all over you have the Hindu images all over the exterior walls of this temple with all the Surasundaris, fascinating figures of Apsaras, decorate the walls. And it's amazing to see them writing letters, right? Wearing the anklets. Look at that. All the Apsaras are of highest beauty in that you can see there. This is Balarama and his consort. This is on the Jain temple wall. Why did they come? We don't know. This is Indra and Indrani. You have Vishnu and Lakshmi. Again, another form of Vishnu and Lakshmi. You have Kama, Manmata and Rati. And look at that Vishnu and Lakshmi. You can see the love in their eyes, the expression, the body language, everything. So fascinating. These fascinating temples of Khajuraho are a creation that were made 1,000 years ago in the present sleepy village that once was a big metropolis under the Chandela rulers. 85 such temples dotting the skyline of this place must have been made this place, Khajuraho, the greatest place in India. The kings, the Sthapatis, have created these great edifices that are oozing of beauty and representation that seen in the representation of the sculptures. Be it the Apsaras, be it the Surasundaris, or even be it the erotic sculptures. Even gods are seen in pairs with full of love filled in their eyes and their body expressions. What a beauty. Undoubtedly, these temples of Khajuraho are built for the celebration of beauty. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions from you. Any questions? You can unmute yourself.